Filmmakers and our gear go hand in hand, and no matter what department you work in, I think it's pretty fair to say that we're all pretty fixated with getting the best tool for the job and improving and upgrading as we grow and start to earn more money. But I think that one of the most valuable assets that we have as filmmakers and creators often gets neglected as we get better and more capable gear, and that is your creativity. Your imagination, your creativity, and your resourcefulness are your biggest assets no matter what level you're at or what tools you acquire. And as you saw in Friday's video where we talked about how to make films all by yourself alone at home, you can see that a little bit of creativity can really go a long way in achieving a task that otherwise seems pretty impossible to do well. And if you haven't seen that video already, I highly recommend that you do check it out, especially if you're stuck in lockdown right now with nobody to help you film anything. But how do we actually get around not having good gear? Because sure, it's easy to be creative when you have a really fancy camera, motorized slider, a good tripod and gimbal and all that other stuff, but what if you don't? And is it even really necessary for you to have those things? See, I've always equated camera gear to colored pencils. Now, let me explain. If you could draw a really good picture with 12 colored pencils, then you're definitely going to be able to draw a beautiful picture with a set of 32 colored pencils. So what I mean by that is that if you get the fundamentals of filmmaking right, you can pretty much get by using the bare minimum and still be able to tell gripping stories and create stunning visuals. And at that point, better gear just becomes a nice to have instead of a necessity. And to further prove my point, I'm about to show you this demo video that I made specifically for this topic to talk about with you guys. And what I want you to do while you're watching it is go ahead and write down in the comments what camera and gear you think I used for it. Don't cheat, just write it down, whatever you think, as you're watching it. Okay, ready? Here we go. Okay, so that dumb little video segment actually took all of 15 minutes to film and about 25 to 30 minutes to edit and finish everything up. Okay, so I'm assuming that you played along and you posted your answer in the comments below. Let's see if you got it right. Okay, so that whole video was shot entirely handheld on an old OnePlus 6, which has a notoriously horrible camera. But what I want you to think to yourself is, did it really make a difference to your overall viewing experience? And if I hadn't asked you to analyze the visual quality, would it have even been something that you'd be looking out for? On the flip side, how many times have you been watching a film and you've gotten totally lost in the story? Well, I can tell you that for the majority of people, the story is what always tends to be most important. And in fact, if there is one major technical element of a film that can make or break it, it would have to be the audio, not the video. You don't watch a Hitchcock or Kubrick film and call it a bad film because the cameras that they used weren't up to par with today's standards. So what does all that mean for you? Well, to put it simply, your ability to tell stories using what you have is going to be the real defining factor of how well received your film or video is going to be. And chances are you already have the gear you need to start making films. Now, I'm not saying to go out and buy an old phone specifically to make your films, but you probably already own a phone with a good enough camera on it. And if you're still really keen on getting a camera kit that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, I've actually included my starter kit recommendation in a link in the description below. But if you already have some gear, something as basic as a camera with a few lenses and a tripod, then you'd be far better off spending your money on buying a pen and some paper and practicing your screenwriting skills than you would be to go out and blow cash on a new camera. And remember, something that only looks pretty can only keep your attention for so long before it gets boring. But a good story arc, good character development, those things can keep your attention throughout a movie every single time. And that's something that I find a lot of starting filmmakers tend to struggle with, because Upgrading to better gear is the fastest shortcut to making your videos look better, especially for film students who are trying to learn all that they can and progress rapidly. And I know because I've been there and I know how it's like to try and prove yourself as more than just another student filmmaker. And that's why on Friday I'm going to be making a video specifically giving advice to film students from somebody who already went through all that and graduated film school. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on your notifications, because if you're somebody who's just starting out to make films or a film student, I think you're gonna find Friday's video really helpful.